What's the exact pronunciation of your
Sozeri. Sozeri. Yeah, I know.
Okay. Sto imparando il turco. Non riuscirò a imparare moltissimo prima di stasera. Abbiamo un'ora di tempo, grazie per essere venuti. Faccio una brevissima introduzione in italiano perché ci dicono che per questo specifico panel non è prevista la traduzione simultanea in cuffia, quindi essendo che Efe ha preparato la sua presentazione naturalmente in inglese, che anche per lui non è la sua lingua madre, e credo che questo poi ci renderà anche più facile seguire il discorso. Voglio fare una piccolissima introduzione in italiano, poi ci convertiremo all'inglese per il resto della presentazione. Efe Sozeri, è troppo difficile per me da pronunciare, è un ricercatore turco. Gli ho chiesto poco fa se torna in Turchia, da quanto tempo non torna in Turchia e perché non ci torna. Lui da diversi anni lavora a fare ricercatore appunto all'Università di Amsterdam e sta scrivendo una tesi sugli effetti della migrazione sui comportamenti politici. Ha questa attività da accademico vera e propria, di cui vi darò un saggio oggi. Se volete sapere qualcosa di più invece del rapporto della Turchia e della grande sfera della discussione pubblica turca con i social media e che cosa Erdogan sta cercando di fare con le persone che usano lo spazio dei social media per la discussione pubblica e politica, Efe appunto scrive di libertà di stampa, scrive sulla libertà di stampa, sulla censura in Turchia per 2 testate, Bianet e Gian. Arrivando qui ha detto spero che sia interessante perché io non sono un giornalista, e io gli ho detto che una delle cose più belle del Festival di Perugia è che discutiamo di giornalismo tra chi lo è, chi non lo è, chi lo è per un po', per metà, in parte, non soltanto. Uno degli articoli più interessanti di Efe si intitola Uncovering the Accounts that Triggered Turkey's War on Twitter, cioè scoprire gli account che hanno innescato la guerra della Turchia a Twitter, che è lo specifico di cui ci parlerà oggi. So just made a little introduction about what you do at university and what the specific presentation will be today. Can you tell our audience why you live in Amsterdam and you're not going back to Istanbul, the way you just told me a few minutes ago?
Okay, we basically moved to Netherlands in 2009 for Better University to do our masters, but now I'm a bit worried about the present situation in my country, and I would like a safer and more pleasant environment for myself to live in. But as you can see, my mind is still there. Although I'm not physically in Turkey, I'm still thinking and dreaming about Turkey. So this is what I do. I do my best for my country. This is what I do.
Cioè, perciò non è sicuro per Efe tornare nel suo paese. Mi ha descritto un po' di situazioni anche di suoi compagni, amici che ricevono queste strane visite nel cuore della notte. Voglio soltanto dire una cosa che anche per lui credo sia importante sapere. La Turchia è un paese gigantesco, in qualche modo qualcuno dice che è un continente a sé stante, è una cerniera tra continenti, è una delle chiavi europee al resto del mondo, è un paese gigantesco con una grande varietà culturale e una storia straordinaria. In qualche modo io penso, e credo lo pensino molti europei, il nostro futuro europeo passa dalla Turchia, da ciò che accade in Turchia, ed è il motivo per cui è così importante che continuiamo a discuterne in più. La Turchia fa titoli di notizie tutti i giorni. È di pochissimi giorni fa abbiamo passato un'intera giornata a parlare di quello che è accaduto quando un gruppo di terroristi di estrema sinistra, diciamo così, è ancora molto poco chiaro di che cosa si trattasse esattamente, hanno fatto irruzione nel Palazzo di Giustizia di Istanbul prendendo in ostaggio il procuratore di Istanbul, che poi è morto nel corso dell'operazione con cui le squadre speciali hanno cercato di salvarlo, e anche in quel caso è calato un muro di blocco della stampa sull'operazione di sicurezza che veniva compiuta, e a seguito della circolazione della fotografia del procuratore generale di Istanbul tenuto sotto minaccia delle armi appunto dai suoi rapitori, è partita una ennesima campagna di blocco di specifici tweet personali di persone che avevano fatto circolare questa fotografia. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
I was just summing up what happened with the prosecutor at the Palace of Justice just a few weeks ago, and the block of specific tweets with that image, and also the blackout that happened afterwards.
Exactly.
Il blackout più importante, Efe ci parlerà del blackout del 2014, cioè sta intorno agli studi, I hope I'm right, it's the 2014 study, what you're going to present today,
yes.
referring to the blackout of
Most
2014.
of the data, yes, most of the data starts with that.
But we just had a blackout. We just had a blackout a few weeks ago.
And I was one of the victims as well.
Exactly. Twitter, Facebook, and Google were blocked. We can presume they complied to the request of removing the content that the government wanted removed. But at the same time, we know for certain, I worked for Reportedly, and Reportedly had direct confirmation from Twitter. Twitter will be appealing this request for removing content. It's a very complex issue, and Efe has studied data, basically. Can you just give us a glimpse of what your method was, what you wanted to search, and what your method was?
Twitter searches, Turkey sends court documents to Twitter to block these content, either accounts or statuses. And Twitter, in favor of transparency, Twitter shares these court documents with Chilling Effects. It's an organization between universities. And I collect these court documents and go through each statuses or accounts, and I try to understand what is being censored. So what message, what information is being taken away from the public to disclose basically what government tries to censor. This is my data.
So we can fairly say that content is removed and taken away from our site in Turkey, but we can, thanks to transparency, we can have a fair idea what has been removed.
Yes.
Who
yes.
and what?
Who and what, yes.
Okay,
After going through all these court documents, we can do that.
Okay. Io lascio la parola a Efe per la sua presentazione. Just leave it to your presentation. And if we have time at the end of the meeting, I just have a couple of more questions for him. But we'll try to keep 15 minutes for you for questions to Efe, of course. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me start with this. I'm not a journalist. I'm just learning your job, actually. I'm trying to learn. And I really like it, because I really admire your way to look into events and try to have different sources. But coming from a sociology background, I think we share one thing, that we have the societal problems, and we try to interpret these problems for the society to understand what the problem is. So this is my attempt of understanding censorship as a problem and try to give back to the society what is being censored and why this is a problem. As the title goes, it's a war between Turkey and Twitter, and then I will also come to the point that how Twitter is actually helping Turkey to censor content. So in the West, perhaps you have the idea of Twitter as a victim, so the Turkey as being the sole offender in this game. But rather, at certain times, we can see Twitter is also complying with a bit too much to the Turkish requests. But as I said, this is a challenge between Twitter, Turkish government, and the Turkish society, including activists like myself. To put all these more into a context, I will start with the general censorship in Turkey, starting with censorship on media. Then I will also include other internet censorship problems, including website censorships. But my start date is, as I wrote here, is March 2014. As Marina beautifully explained, at the time, Turkish government banned access to Twitter.com entirely for 2 weeks, and it was a particular period that was the local elections. They blocked access on 20 March, and the elections were on 30 March. So 10 days before the local elections, they banned access to internet, trying to avoid people to learn about corruption in Turkey. A corruption network that includes the government ministers, even Erdogan, the prime minister, then prime minister, and their family. So this is what government tried to achieve by censoring censoring Twitter altogether. And the ban continued a week after the elections even were done. So this is the start time. I put it as casualties. There are more than 100 accounts and more than 2,000 Twitter statuses that has been blocked by Turkey during 2014, starting from March to December. And now we have even more since we have progressed in 2015. And I put a personal note as well, referring to the latest event where a Turkish public prosecutor was held hostage. And then Turkey started to try to at least block all the images on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Google Images, and on Facebook as well. And during this blockout, one of my tweets was also censored. Then I objected to Twitter's decision, and I managed to uncensor it. So I will tell you a part of it as a solution. So I'm sitting here not only as a researcher, not as a journalist, as I explained, but also an activist, and I will try to offer solutions for Twitter, for Turkey, to find a way out, actually, to our problems. So let me start with the context. Online censorship in Turkey is a growing problem. Engelli Web is an attempt, it's a crowdsourced attempt. They try to list the number of websites that are blocked by Turkish authorities. And as you can see, the numbers, they are growing and growing. It's an exponential growth, actually. And by the last year, they were already 65. And today, as you can see on the right corner, it's going so fast that by yesterday's accounts, they were more than 77,000 blocked websites. And most of these websites are blocked not by court orders, but a government body. So there is no proper investigation being done, no true objection is possible to these decisions. So all these content is just removed from Turkish internet users to take. By the way, this presentation is already online. As you have seen, I just clicked from my Twitter account, so you can go through that. And all these underlined words through my presentation are links, so you can go through the Engelli Web website and go through all these data yourself as well. Press orders on censorship has also a way on the media, on the traditional media as well. And again, these numbers speak for themselves. Gag orders on many issues, including the corruption that has caused Twitter to be blocked. ISIS hostage crisis, Turkish intelligence agency providing arms to ISIS and other opposition groups in Syria, civilian deaths, even mining disasters. All these issues were silenced by the government through the time because government wants to keep a very positive perception among the Turkish public opinion, and their way of keeping this positive image is by censoring the negative content. So this is a very systemic way of treating with information. So our Turkish users, Turkish readers, Turkish citizens' right to information is systematically blocked, violated. There's also offline censorship. And I presented it, I mentioned it briefly. On the streets, when you chant that Erdogan is a thief, with regards to the corruption case, then Erdogan and their lawyers are opening new cases of defamation suits against you, and then many courts give the penalties starting from 1 year prison sentence. And for many leftist journals who wrote about the corruption case, breaching the gag order that is given on the corruption case, then they receive really huge fines that they have to shut down their newspapers, basically. So it's both offline and online censorship is systematic, and they play together. How content is censored legally? On internet's law, Turkey's internet law, it says certain content like gambling, prostitution, drugs, and crimes against Atatürk, the founder of Turkey, is penalized, and any content regarding these things can be censored directly by a government body. And there's defamation. For defamation, like insult to you, you can apply to a court, and then courts give a decision within 1 day, and then ISPs, the internet service providers in Turkey, had to implement this banning order that is said to be, defamation that is insulting to you, as you claim, within 4 hours. So it's a very automatized process, and you will see how large it is in terms of scope. So how many items can be, removed from Turkish internet users within 4 hours. And while I was preparing this, there was a new amendment, just Wednesday happened. They brought a new amendment to internet law, and now not only courts, but also prime minister and ministers can also remove content, like block access to certain websites directly. And the context here being, of course, the June elections. In June, there will be elections in Turkey. And of course, AKP is under constant criticism by opposition. And one of the ways that we can criticize government and we can share information about the wrongdoings of the government is, of course, over Twitter, over social media, over internet. And this is what they are trying to aim again. And they are trying to make it even more direct without even one more step to go to a court and doing that, but instead now they can do it directly. For the Twitter's case, when it was blocked out in March 2014, the first decision that were taken against Twitter, it was against communication minister, who was running for local elections. He was running for a mayorship. But that decision was reversed in the court, in Turkish court. But regardless of that fact, Twitter remained closed down. And even after the Supreme Court's decision that this is a serious breach of, information right to communicate, that Twitter cannot be, shut down altogether in one country, it's a serious breach. Even after that, the ban continued. So, as I will bring in the solutions part at the end of my presentation, unfortunately, I cannot really offer the legal way as a solution to the Turkish problem. So in terms of casualties, this is sourced by the Twitter's own transparency report. As you can see over here, the accounts withheld in the first part was 17 in the first 6 months between actually March, not from January, but to March to June was 17. And then in the second half, it increased to 62. And the number of tweets were almost 10 times. So in the end, this many accounts and this many tweets were withheld by Twitter at the request of Turkish courts. But actually, the number of tweets, the number of information pieces that people were blocked, their access were blocked, is much more than that. As you can see, this is a screenshot from my data. You can just click here when you have time and go through that. These are the accounts, and you can scroll down and see more. And if you count the number of tweets that these accounts have posted, then it makes, I don't know if you can see this number, but it's really 800,000 actually, and it continues to be this way. And the number of people influenced by this as followers is more than that. So it's a serious matter, of course.
Just to be clear,
yes.
When you're talking about blocked accounts or blocked tweets, you imply country withheld
Yes.
ones. So I can see your account.
Yes.
But your Turkish friends can't.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Within Turkey, if you are accessing Twitter from Turkey, in your settings, the country appears as Turkey, and as long as your country is Turkey when you are accessing Twitter, you cannot see these accounts, you cannot see these tweets at all. When you try to access these tweets, if you can find their links, you will see that there will be a note saying that this tweet is withheld in Turkey, and you don't know what it is about at all. But I will, of course, show you what these tweets are with screenshots. These are their distributions by court, and at least it shows that certain courts in Turkey are responsible for most of the Most of the court cases are by these Istanbul courts. There are certain reasons, we can go through details, perhaps if you like to ask, but it's a problem that the judiciary in Turkey is not independent. There's a governmental body that appoints prosecutors and judges to certain courts so that they can go through these certain courts to have these blocking orders, instead of going to a normal independent judge and being rejected for ridiculously trying to censor content, basically. And I will show you what they are trying to censor. This is the court order of April 25. It was after the Twitter ban was lifted, but at the time, Twitter's representatives were in Turkey, so they were having these communication with the government, negotiations with the government to how to handle this situation. And Twitter's way out was this country withheld tool. So Turkey will apply, any person in Turkey, including politicians, will apply to courts. Court will give decisions, and they will send to Twitter, and Twitter will block these informations, accounts, tweets in Turkey. And this is what communication minister did. Lütfi Elvan is the communication minister of the time, and he gave this list, these are all tweets of people, and 68 of them altogether. And he applied for the court, and with one sentence decision, court decided that indeed these tweets are insults, and they were all blocked. And if you go through this is a search, this is a Twitter search. If you search Lütfi Elvan, just his name, between those 3 days, March 23 and March 24, just 6 days before the local elections, from Turkey you will go through this and you will see that this tweet by this person is withheld. And then you scroll down, and this tweet by this person is withheld. And well, this shows one thing. Either Lütfi Elvan himself or his lawyers are going through Twitter, searching his name, and finding these accounts. Some of them has really small number of followers. Some of these tweets were not even retweeted. So basically, they didn't have any power in public information, or so you can claim these things. But rather, this is a kind of umbrella censorship, a wholesale censorship. So basically what they try to do is to censor any content, any negative content about Lütfi Elvan. And look at these two accounts. As you can see, Turkish people have no access to it, but now you have. This is screenshots I took from Netherlands. I live in Netherlands and I have access to these content, of course. The Minister of Communication, Lütfi Elvan, I'm translating to you, is unethical, and we denounce him. All ministers should have been like this. This is censored. And this is the second that was on the list. Lütfi Elvan is unethical and he's very rude. He should look at this other person, Abdullah, and he should learn how humanity is. This is censored. There is another one. A member of European Parliament was referring to the situation in Turkey, how this censorship is really going crazy, and he literally said this Lütfi Elvan communication minister is idiot. He literally used this word. And this person is just sharing the news, and the news actually reads, AP member says to Minister Lütfi Elvan, this man is idiot. This is just sharing the news. He just shared the link with the link, and he just shared what the news is, the title. Of course, there are bad examples as well. You can call them insults, and I also wanted to bring one of them. And I apologize for this word, but O-Ç, these two words are an abbreviation for, again, apologies. It means son of bitch, son of a bitch. And of course, this is an insult, but in many countries, this level of criticism can be flexible, and many court decisions are like this. And I know from the UK example, I mean, if you follow the Prime Minister's account, each time he tweets something, there are many worse comments like this, and they are all, being accepted under it. Well, in Turkish context, you can perhaps discuss, whether this particular tweet should be withheld. But this decision should not be left to a court, giving 68 censorships at all and a wholesale censorship altogether. So this is not the proper way. And in the end, if we follow this path, we end up with hundreds of accounts being blocked and thousands being censored. So that was the case. And my case,
which is very recent.
Which is very recent. On 31st March, like 20 days ago, that prosecutor was taken hostage. And it was just around noon, and the tweets were following. And again, government issued a gag order. So no news were broadcasted on the mainstream media. So at these times, we always turn to Twitter, because Twitter is much more reliable. You can change your sources. You can look at different sources, trying to understand the situation from different angles. So we turned to that, and I was also one of them turning into that. And I was actually reporting then how this gag order turned into a censorship, because one of the courts just gave an order to block 166 internet addresses altogether, and half of these addresses were news channels, including NTV, including Milliyet, Hürriyet. These are the biggest newspapers in Turkey. But all 80 of these URL addresses, internet addresses to their websites were blocked out. And this means that it's again, you first gave a gag order to prevent this happening, and then you force them to remove this content, and you have all these power to block access to this content in 4 hours. It's so serious. But then government was not satisfied with this situation, seeing that this, in Twitter, in Facebook, we can reshare, retweet these things. And so they gave a second order, and this is stemming from the internet law in Turkey. If it is not possible to stop the crime, it literally says this, by banning one URL address, you can ban the whole domain. And by this small reference in the internet law, they went on and they blocked Twitter and Facebook and YouTube all together in one day. And they even gave an ultimatum to Google Images to remove all images of that prosecutor being taken hostage. And then apparently they won in many cases. So it followed, and it became so automatic that this is on the right, you see the image. This is the image that has been censored in Turkey. And left is my tweet. I don't know if you know Zeynep. She's a sociologist, and she studies censorship in US. And I was just saying to Zeynep that, see, this is the tweet of Milliyet, one of the newspapers. It's an official tweet. As you can see, by the way, this is an official verified Twitter account of Milliyet. So it's a serious account, let's say. And then Milliyet was sharing its own link. But this is Twitter's Twitter card preview. So Milliyet, the people running the Milliyet account at the time, did not share this image at all. This image was in their news. But Twitter card is an automatic preview that it shows the image. Many of you know. But apparently, the court doesn't know about that. And they are not even interested to know about that, apparently. And they are not even interested in knowing that I was just reporting about the censorship. I was not basically sharing or doing the propaganda of this event at all. Anyway, they censored this very tweet. And then I objected to that, and in the end, I got a message from Twitter Legal saying that, yes, you are right, you are doing a research. So this time only, they said, we are unwithholding, so we are uncensoring your tweet. But this sounds very much like a privilege given to me. I prefer a rather more open way of accessing to these uncensoring possibilities, so that every internet user in Turkey will have the same rights, just like you do. Your content, your tweets posted on your own accounts, when you are posting in Netherlands, in Italy, in US, are not censored by your governments. And Twitter is not helping these governments to censor you. But in Turkey, Twitter does. And this is a serious problem. So I as a researcher, now I switch to my activist mode. How we can solve this after showing this? As I told you before, appealing to upper courts doesn't really work well. As Twitter's own numbers show, they appeal and they will appeal, they already appealed to this decision as well, but only 5% of the time they win. So 95% of the time, courts just go on with their censorship. But writing about censorship, reporting that the scope of censorship, recording and showing with screenshots, with translations, showing to people what is being censored in Turkey is one part, and it's a really important part. My tweet being unwithheld, my tweet being uncensored is this actually. By showing that the censorship in Turkey is going really ridiculous, it's really breaching our freedom of speech in Turkey with political reasons, that political content is being censored. We can bring Twitter to a corner that Twitter will have to choose between its global prestige and then give up over its ad revenue in Turkey. Because this is what Twitter does. Since March 2014, Twitter is choosing the ad revenue from Turkey over the freedom of speech of its users, while globally Twitter is known as the free speech wing of the Free Speech Party, and it is known after the NSA revelations that Twitter is indeed, fighting for your user privacy, not sharing the information. So, if this is the image that Twitter wants to keep, then it should keep this image in Turkey as well. It should keep these principles as well. And there is one other option, which is the bad option, of course. This is Pakistan, as much as I can follow. Pakistan really hit a bottom, I would claim. And you can go through these links to see how low that bottom is. And in May last year, Twitter unilaterally decided that the content that Twitter withholds in Pakistan, similar to Turkey, they just decided one day that we will no longer follow this tweet in Pakistan because Pakistani authorities, Twitter said, they are not, giving enough reasoning to their decisions. I think in Turkey we are just on the same place. This wholesale blocking is not logical. It's not legal in many cases, and it's all political, based on political grounds. So I think we are on the same spot and moving towards that spot, but I prefer through these channels, like revealing what Twitter is doing to you and writing on different mediums to let people know and try to change it. Thank you.
We have time for maybe, I have so many questions now, but we'll keep some time, like 15 minutes for your questions. So if you just raise your hands in 5 minutes, we'll start. If there's one thing that really makes every single country censorship ridiculous in times like these, I'll just give you an example. If Hurriyet, which is one of the newspapers that Efe quoted earlier, is being censored on some content, like complying a gag order or complying a request to remove a photo or an article, they are actually tweeting about it, and they're tweeting in English, and we pick this up. And by we, I don't mean just we, reportedly, but hundreds and hundreds of different press organizations in the world. So that creates an effect of a message in the bottle, by which in Turkey you're not allowed to see a tweet or see what kind of content was removed by Hurriyet from their pages. But at the same time, you have friends in the world we were living in 2015. We speak one language, 2 languages, 3 languages. Turkish tweeps are actually very well known in the whole world for their way of using VPN and bypassing or circumventing any kind of blocks. They're probably some of the best in the world.
Yep.
I don't know how much
well-trained.
penetration that is, but that's the second question. Doesn't it make, regardless of what Twitter or Google decides to choose between global prestige and human rights prestige and the local revenue, because Turkey is a huge market, isn't it in the long run, Erdogan's battle is going to be lost because there's no way he can win? I mean, even all the courts in the world could never block public opinion in such a big country.
But he's in the end winning the elections. This is, if this is an information war, then there's a certain segment of the population that we, as the activists on Twitter, let's say, the opposition in Turkey, let's say, are not able to reach out. Since they are in the government since last 14 years, they are also running the state television. TRT is the state television in Turkey. They are sending their messages very clearly, the discourse of the government party very clearly, like all the good things they are doing as a propaganda channel. They are using the state television, official television, as a propaganda channel. And then there are many other details as well. There are certain state tenders given to certain groups, and so that they have more influence on media groups in Turkey, so that they can influence what can be reported as news and what cannot be done. So these information channels are, and Twitter is one, are blocked one by one. So we are not able to reach enough people. Of course, that certain people are very well trained. In the last Twitter, the blockout, I mean, everyone knows.
It was
from
ridiculous.
Our part.
The way we knew there was a block on Twitter in Turkey was that because Turkish tweets were tweeting about it, and it was like, so if Twitter is blocked, how comes we get 500 tweets a minute from Istanbul alone because of VPN?
Yeah.
But there's not. What you're saying is that it's a segment of the population that is not representing the entire population.
Yes. I'm not sure if there's any independent research about Twitter, the profile of the Twitter users in Turkey, but Facebook users are much more spread. They are much more varied in terms of different population and income levels and education levels. But unfortunately, this is the Twitter part, but the Facebook part is even worse than that. Facebook is much more prone to censor any content, and they has long been doing this for the Kurdish parties. So this is also one issue in Turkey and one political issue in Turkey, and Facebook was really so fast in censoring any content related to Kurdish political movement, saying that they have roots in the terrorism and PKK is known to be a terrorist organization, so we are blocking it right away. They had done this so many times that Facebook is no longer used for political content sharing. It is rather sharing your baby photos and other things. But Twitter is truly political, and the news can spread as long as there are people who can access it.
Does the message in the bottle serve any purpose? Getting a message in the bottle out of Turkey saying, hey, they're doing this to us.
It does. I think I'm one of these, bottles I'm trying to, translate from Turkey. The latest amendment happened in Wednesday, and now you are an Italian crowd hearing this right away. So these are the channels that I'm part of and that we are trying to use so that you can hear and so that we can, collaborate together to change things in Turkey, because we can no longer, close the borders and Turkish people live there on their own. All these markets are so into each other, so that our people, different people, are so connected to each other. And so let's, collaborate on lifting this ban all together. This is exactly why I am here.
And also, we have to mention that Twitter bans or internet bans generally are never alone. They never appear alone as a purely internet problem in Turkey, but also in Spain or in Italy, for that matter. We see a tightening of security laws on the ground by new rules of engagement for police, new anti-protest laws. There was just a protest recently in Spain.
Yeah,
it seems such a global problem at the end of the day. And usually, if you notice, internet bans or internet control and control on the ground go hand in hand. Let's get some questions from them.
Great.
Chiunque abbia una domanda, abbiamo qualche minuto e un microfono forse. Una domanda qui, una lì dietro. Grazie.
Hello, Andrew Finkel from P24 in Turkey.
Hello.
Thank you for your presentation. Let me ask you. Some people say that the aim of the Turkish government isn't so much to ban Twitter as to discredit Twitter. In other words, trying to divide the country into those who use Twitter who are somehow, unpatriotic, not on the side of right, and that its intention isn't so much to censor and to ban, but to discredit, because it knows that people get round the ban on Twitter by using all the methods that you described. How do you react to this argument?
Can you repeat the last part a bit slowly, because
Okay,
this is a room with so many reflections.
I apologize. There's an argument that's been put about, I think, on Twitter, that the aim of the Turkish government is not so much to ban Twitter because it knows it can't, for the reasons you described, but it's trying to discredit the medium itself by saying that people who use Twitter are somehow not real Turks, not real patriotic, not on the side. How do you react to this argument? Is it really trying to prevent information from getting out there, or to discredit that information?
I think it serves both ways. The way Erdogan, as I perceive as a political scientist, he works for this polarization in Turkey. So he wants his followers to perceive opposition as Twitter users, perhaps, bringing these two bubbles as separate as possible. So discrediting the others is also separating them from each other, so bringing more distance, which makes this information flow much harder for me. After Gezi, I was one of the Gezi participants. There were other protests in Turkey supporting the protests in Rabia, the four-finger movement, remember that. And I was one of the prone supporters of street movements, Any person who is under suppression should be supported, so that's the idea. But we failed to communicate with these people because we were the bad Gezi protesters. We were just a bunch of looters, and we were just, trying to damage everything that Turkey has, the positive image of Turkey, whatever. So this is a perception game, perception war that Erdogan is moving, and with the channels he is actually, I think, winning this war. And yes, his way of preventing information to reach his followers is by just attacking the roots of us, by discrediting us. I think they are very much related.
My question is very much connected to the last one. Besides discredit, there's also a safety issue. Besides censoring, people can also feel intimidated once they're censored, and next time they will think twice before posting anything, or going down the street and protest, or even get out of the house altogether, because you know better than any of us how dangerous can be to be in the position in Turkey. So from this point of view, I think that Twitter has a even heavier responsibility in protecting the users and not make them feel isolated.
I totally agree, and there is also one more step here. After censorship happens, then comes self-censorship. This prosecutor's image and the ban on 166 links, and 80 of them being the news articles from news outlets, internet news outlets. When I was doing the research about that, just one week after the court decision, half of the news were already removed by the internet news organizations themselves. So court decided to censor them, and they decided to self-censor them. Even from Netherlands, I cannot reach information. So this is the problem. The way they are intimidated by the government is leading them to self-censor. And I, even living in the Netherlands, I felt how oppression, I felt it much more closer even from Netherlands, because now the court decision that I was reporting about has reached me as well. And this is what people on the street are afraid of.
Actually, the way I have to mention is the way I got to know that those specific tweets from specific users showing that photo of the prosecutor, which obviously was a propaganda photo from the people who held the prosecutor, of course. But the first news about one specific tweet being censored actually arrived from Egypt. And not from Turkey.
Nirvana. Yeah.
Nirvana Mahmoud refer back to her followers saying, these and these and these happened to me following my publication of this photo in one of my tweets. And Twitter refused to accept my complaint, and this tweet was removed. So basically, that tweet, which was actually my timeline the day before, was not there. No. It just disappeared. So that actually affected people all over the world who had tweeted or retweeted Turkish material.
Yep, that is true. That is true. So the censorship in Turkey has, over the border effects. So you as Italians, I'm from Netherlands, trying to access information in Turkey, even our right to get informed about Turkey is violated by these decisions. So, as I told, we are all together in this game. Spain is here, Italy is here. So we should, struggle together and survive together. This is the only way I can find.
Abbiamo ancora 5 minuti per qualche domanda, se volete. 2. Una lì, una là. So che poi c'è questa tradizione di lasciare la sala 3 minuti prima per permettere al panel successivo di essere puntuale.
First of all, sorry for my English.
That's all right.
I know some Turkish guys, students like me, and I have a boy in Turkey with which I talk often by Facebook, but there's a question I've never asked him for fear to offend him. I'd like to know if Turkish people actually likes Erdogan and actually support Erdogan's politics, the government's politics, or not.
It's a big question, in fact.
Yeah, there are certainly followers of Erdogan who actually vote for him, and sure. There are followers of Erdogan. There are voters of Erdogan who really follow him, and actually some of them to a really strong level. I would say they idolize with him, and they took him a really the biggest leader of this century. So they are a bit exaggerating perhaps, but they are really treating Erdogan is the man, is the leader that they can follow. This has roots in Turkish political culture as well. We always had very charismatic, powerful party leaders in all parties, except the Kurdish movement, perhaps. The within-party democracy was never there. The party leaders were always picking the candidates for each province. So this is a political culture problem as well in Turkey. But it would be wrong to say every Turkish people hates Erdogan. Of course. And this is obvious from the votes as well. Not every Erdogan follower is ignorant about what's going on in Turkey. Unfortunately, many of them who are knowledgeable about what is going on in Turkey is choosing Erdogan over freedom of speech. So they prefer what Erdogan brings. Used to bring. Apparently, the Turkish economy is going a bit downwards now, but they prefer consistency in economy, that single government, instead of a coalition government, a single party government can rule Turkey better, they thought. And Erdogan came after an economic crisis. So obviously, certain people still would choose Erdogan over their freedom because of the gains they expect from Erdogan to bring.
But also, I have to say, I was just mentioning to Efe that I was in Istanbul a couple of months ago, and I was astonished by the number of people that came to us in a normal everyday conversation at the restaurant or in the street or in Taksim or on the metro, talking about politics and discussing politics very openly with a lot of passion. And a lot of them were saying this man is turning the country backwards because they're very much aware of how civil and modern Turkey is, and what a big country it is, and how Erdogan is trying to kind of steer the country towards a past that never existed, by the way, which is, just remember, it's a Taliban trick, trying to turn to a past that never existed.
It's a fantasy that he's selling.
Yeah, it's a fantasy. Yeah, it's not the past of Turkey. That's not the past of Turkey. And Turkey deserves so much better. One last question.
Yavuz Baydar from P24. Just an additional comment to this question. The most recent survey done by Koç University in Istanbul was about whether or not and to what extent the parties, supporters of the parties, were supporting or thinking about censorship. And briefly, about a third of Erdogan supporters think that there is censorship in internet, whereas the other three parties think about up to 75 through 80% think that there is censorship in the internet.
Okay.
Want to add anything to this?
No. There will be a new session tomorrow at 4:30, and there will be a debate about Turkish media, and perhaps there will be more information about the media situation of media. I mean, I just passed through one slide, but it's again very serious. And although while I mentioned the Twitter users as a certain group of users, well-educated, has access to internet, has access to English and everything. Many Turkish citizens are taking the news from television, and these are state television, as I mentioned. Many of the mainstream televisions, media channels are within the reach of Erdogan. With just one call, he can just censor news. So please, if you'd like to attend and hear more about Turkey, please attend to tomorrow's session as well.
And before we leave you, I just would like to remind you that you can, actually the Journalism Festival has linked one of Efe's articles from his biography. You just click to speakers on the website. Hi. On the website. And,
yeah, that's my son.
Oh, okay. And it's his son. Daddy's coming soon. And also that, can you just remind them where they can find your slides and your research?
It's just on my Twitter account. Actually, you can just switch over there. I think this is the third thing you can find over here. You can also take this photo. This is already the code, QR code you can take. And this is already linked over here. You can also reach it to bit.ly, Twitter Turkey data, all the court documents, all the screenshots that I have shown you there, including this very presentation. It's also there. So all these documents are in folders so that you can reach and report and contact me anytime if you need help in translation, so that we can collaborate and write things together, and I would really enjoy that.
And also follow Efe on Twitter, which is my personal recommendation.
Thank you.